Hello, everybody. We're back. We're not bumping like we usually are. Unfortunately, I had to start packing up my things because I have to move to my new barracks room. But besides that, we'll continue on. I believe that's the outline. Give me a second, because I actually was looking at that earlier. Script. I just wanted to make sure we were actually following the outline. So just give me a moment. All right, so that should be Nanaya versus Tohno next. Just wanted to make sure. Yeah, Nanaya versus Tohno. Okay, let's see. Shiki Tohno, Shiki Nanaya. There we go. Perfect. Now let's get rid of that. Perfect. Okay, cool. So the next section is Shiki Tohno versus Shiki Nanaya. But let's just read what we had yesterday, just in case. This is going to be a relatively short one, but I'm probably going to add something more to this later. So one of the biggest differences between Tohno and Nanaya is how they view violence. For Tohno, and really for most people, violence is something that breaks your life apart. When Tohno gets placed into a fight, it pulls him away from his normal routines, his school life, and the person he wants to be. Killing isn't something who he is. It's a necessity he hates dealing with. For Nanaya, violence isn't an interruption. It's the foundation of his existence. We, the audience, see firsthand at what he is capable of through his various feats. A person who is bred and trained by the Nanaya family to hunt demonic entities. Because of this, because his childhood. I thought I put because of this. Oh well. Because his childhood was cut short by the massacre, his instincts became the only language he ever learned frequently. In Tsukihime and Melty, plenty of characters killed. But what makes Nanaya stand out is how effortlessly good he is at it. Okay. As we know, actually, we'll add more to that later. As we know, Tohno represents the other possibility. Yeah, Tohno represents the other possibility. As we know, Tohno represents the other possibility. Not a completely different person from Nanaya. Oh, before I forget, we're gonna try to do at least 30 minutes. I know yesterday's stream was kind of expedited because I had to hack the majority of this shit, but the only thing left in this room is just my stream set and these lights in front of me and the jerseys. That's all the thing that's left here. So tomorrow morning, I'll get out of here and I'll be back around the usual time. So as we know, Tohno represents the other possibility. Not a completely different person from Nanaya. Yeah, Nanaya. The same person. But the same person. But the same person shaped by everything afterwards. We're being cheeky with this. Not a completely different person from Nanaya, but the same person shaped by everything afterwards. Everything that came afterwards. Everything that came afterwards. I like it. And what's really funny, if you've read the Melty Blood manga, it is. I believe it's the Melty Blood. Yeah, it's the Melty Blood manga. When CL was trying to take Shion into custody and Tohno stepped in, it's like he gave CL his DP, and it's like even though Tohno is not the same person as Nanaya, the the training's still there. Like he can still pull off the majority of stuff that Nanya can pull off, even if he doesn't share the same killing intent as Nanya. The body doesn't forget, is what I'm getting at. Uh, so the instincts still remain. The instincts are still there. As usual, don't drink unless you're my age. The instincts are still there. The instincts are still there. The training he received in his childhood, buried within his psyche. The training he received in his childhood. Somewhere inside of him. So, I think I've mentioned this before. The great thing about Type Moon in general, you have a lot of information when it comes to stuff like this. Like, there's a lot of source material that you can go through. But the risk of that is you can add a little bit too much and it takes away from what you're actually trying to discuss. This is primarily a Nanaya video, but I still have to mention bits and pieces of Tohno. But if I mention too much, it kind of drowns out the Nanya aspect of it, if it makes any sense. So we have to be a little bit careful here. Somewhere inside of him. The insects are still there. The training he received in his childhood remained buried somewhere inside of him. Hold on. Okay. I don't want to recap what we mentioned in other paragraphs, so I have to be a little bit careful here. Because we already touched upon what happened that day with Akiya when he got sent to the Arima family. So I don't want to keep repeating the same thing. We have to be very careful with that. So where the hell did I put it? Okay. It should be around right here. Yeah, right here. Yeah. Adopted into the Tohno family, later sent to the Arima family, grew up to be a somewhat normal person. Okay. I briefly touched upon it. I think I can do it. I'll do it again, but I'll just reword it a little bit. I just don't like repeating myself. So, training receiver remains somewhere deep inside of him. Even after the traumatic night, his body never forgot. His body never forgot. Simple enough. As mentioned, the events of Tsukihime As mentioned, the events of Tsukihime and Melty Blood. We'll just use Melty Blood. No. Actually, let's be cheeky about this. The events of Tsukihime and Melty Blood. Forced Tohno. Forced Tohno. Forced Tohno. Because his life, again, was relatively normal. Then the day he saw Arcade walking is when shit hit the fan, and on top of him getting called back to the manor. So the events of Tsukihime and Melty would force Tohno. Let's go front. Let's go front. Another part of himself. In the world he thought he understood. Because his world got turned upside down. He understood. So from there, what do we know? Tohno represents the other possibility. Not a completely different person from Nanya, but the same person shaped by everything that came afterwards. The instincts... English! English! The instincts are still there. The training he received in his childhood remained buried deep somewhere inside of him. Even after that traumatic night. What are words right now? Even after that traumatic night, his body never forgot. The events of Tsukihime and Melty Blood forced Tohno to confront another part of himself in the world he thought he understood. Let's mention Alko. Even Alko's influence. You know what I need to do? I need to remake that Alko video from last year. I do. I didn't half-ass it. It could have been a little bit better. Just like that Toko one, which got high-level copyrighted, that I had to scramble to get released. There was so much that I spent so much time on that one. I'm so mad that YouTube pretty much kamikazed it. Even Alko's influence. Even Alko's influence. Alko showed him not to take life for granted. Because remember, what the fuck? Oh, sorry, Discord. Alko's influence taught him to cherish life. Like everything is living around you. Because you remember what he did with the tree. He essentially killed the tree, and Alko smacked the shit out of him. Alright. Even Alko's influence from his childhood. His childhood. Remains important. Remains important. Because it showed him. No. Even Alko's influence from his childhood remains important. The kind of person he is. When we I can't do that because other people might view him a different way. I can't do that. I was gonna say, as we the audience, we view Tohno as the kind-hearted boy. I'll just leave it like that. Jesus Christ! All right, I will take a look at that. All right. Let's see. As we know, Tohno represents the other possibility, not a completely different person from Nanya, but the same person shaped by everything that came afterwards. The instincts are still there. The training he received from it in his childhood remained buried somewhere inside of him. Even after that traumatic night, his body never forgot. The events of Tsukihime and Melty Blood forced Tohno to confront another part of himself in the world he thought he understood. Even Ako's influence from his childhood remains important to the kind of person he is. But it should be noted that those experiences don't erase the Nanya inside of 90% inside of him. Because again, we quite literally have evidence that that Nanya is in Tohno's dome because he took over during the Nero fight. It's not like he's imagining it. No, that actually did happen. Nanya is the one who cut Arcade into mincemeat in the alleyway. So it's not he's a I can't even say a Jekyll and Hyde situation. It's not like he's not non-existent. No, he's quite literally a subconscious. It's a dormant persona. That's what he is. But it should be noted that these experiences don't erase Nanya. Oh, give me a moment. Fuck it, we're gonna go to near. My audio might be fucked up a little bit. Alright, so if anything, they give Tohno They give Tohno something to place in between himself and that instinct that lays dormant. What time is it? Alright, we'd like a few more minutes. If anything, they give Tohno something to place between himself and his Nanya instincts. Speaking of that, I was gone for 7 months on a deployment. I have not been following Lumina for years, and I come to find out that that game is getting an update. They're now putting Lemon there. Like, okay, that's took you guys long enough. I have not touched Lumina in so long. It's weird. Lumina's a weird game to me. More so, I just don't have a main. They gave me a good Akia, but I don't play Seifu. I play F Seifu just for shits and giggles and practice again, but they didn't give me the Akia that I played because I played vanilla Akia, just regular old Akia, Crescent half and full, or even just straight up bougie Akia from Cadenza. But now you give me a completely different character. I'm like, well, I feel naked right now. So I just went to one of my other subs, which was Wark. I'm like, damn, okay, well, let's go Wark. You're ridiculous in this game. If anything, they give Tohno something to place between himself and his Nanya instincts. I need to give an example of that, actually. If we're gonna commit to this. So the funny thing about Tohno is he can somewhat recognize the killing intent that shows up. Like, for example, when he sees Arcade walking around again, he was like, the fuck? Okay. He can recognize. He can recognize the urge to kill. He can recognize the urge to kill without simply surrendering to it. Without simply surrendering to it. The difference between himself and Nanaya. If I can actually spell, I cannot tonight. Between him and Nanaya. 20 minutes? Alright. No. It's not, the difference is not that Tohno. The difference is not that Tohno escapes what he was born as. He's not doing that. He was born as. The difference is not that Tohno escapes what he was born as. He has a, yeah, it's not that he escapes what he was born as. He just has a life that he's built up after that. Damn. Sad song. I'll shut up. Yeah. Hold on. He can recognize the urge to kill while simply surrendering to it. Recognize spell. While surrendering to it. He can recognize the urge to kill without simply surrendering to it. And make choices. And make choices that have nothing to do with the role his bloodline demanded of him. I like that. Okay. He recognized the urge to kill while simply surrendering to it and make choices that have nothing with the role his bloodline demanded of him. I like that. Once demanded of him. Well, let's do a few more minutes, then we'll start wrapping it up. I got some stuff I need to take care of. I gotta do sprite animation stuff later. And I gotta finish taking all this apart and bring it to my new room. We'll still be able to stream tomorrow. Hopefully the internet works over there, but we'll still be able to continue doing what we're doing. Okay. Difference is not that Tohno escapes what he was born as. It's that he has a life outside of it to decide what that part of himself actually means. Okay. All right, let's see what we got so far, because it is getting to that time. I like keeping these streams short, because 30 minutes should be a good time for people just to chill, relax. Very, very long streams. I don't know. It's like me personally, I wouldn't mind sitting down watching a long typing session, but I think 30 minutes is a good enough time. Unless people want me to do it longer, then I'll do it longer. But I think 30 minutes is good. As we know, Tohno represents the other possibility, not a completely different person from Nanaya, but the same person shaped by everything that came afterwards. The instincts are still there. The training he received in his childhood remained buried somewhere inside of him. Even after that traumatic night, his body never forgot. The events of Tsukihime and Melty would force Tohno to confront the other part forward. Tohno to confront another part of himself in the world he thought he understood. Even Alko's influence from his childhood remains important to that kind of person he is. But it should be noted that those experiences don't erase the Narnia persona that's dormant. If anything, they give Tohno something to place between himself and his Narnia instincts. He can recognize the urge to kill without simply surrendering to it, and make choices that have nothing to do with the role his bloodline was demanded of him. The difference is not that Tohno escapes what he was born as, is that he has a life outside of it to decide what that part of himself actually means. I might have to fix that a little bit. So what we do, let's do another sentence, then we can lead on to the Narnia stuff, and we'll do the Narnia part of it tomorrow. Is that he has a life outside of it to decide what part of himself actually means? That part of himself actually means. Damn near. You always gotta make me so sad when I'm typing when you're playing. Is that he has a life outside of it to decide what that part of himself actually means? You know, Tohno? Wait, yeah, so Tohno can ask himself what he wants to become. Narnia can't do that. There it is, yep. Okay, and that's where the real difference is. Tohno can ask himself, who do I want to become? Who do I want to become? Narnia never got the opportunity to ask himself that question. Was never given the opportunity to ask that question. Now we can go into the Narnia portion of it. Okay. Alright, so the fuck? There we go. So let's read everything that we did tonight. As we know, Tohno represents the other possibility, not a completely different person from Narnia, but the same person shaped by everything that came afterwards. The instincts are still there. The training he received in his childhood remained buried somewhere inside of him. Even after that traumatic night, his body never forgot. Even after that traumatic night, his body never forgot. The events of Tsukihime and Melty would force Tohno to confront another part of himself in the world he thought he understood. Even Alko's influence from his childhood remains important to that kind of person he is. But it should be noted that those experiences don't erase the Narnia persona that's dormant. If anything, they give Tohno something to place between himself and his Narnia instincts. He can recognize the urge to kill without simply surrendering to it, and make choices that have nothing to do with the role his bloodline once demanded of him. The difference is not that Tohno escapes from what he was born as. Is that he has a life outside of it to decide what that part of himself actually means. And that's where the real difference between Tohno and Narnia lies. Tohno can ask himself, who do I want to become? Narnia was never given that opportunity to ask that question. I think that's a good transitionary sentence to actually bring us into that. So, anyways, besides that, good stuff, everybody. I gotta get back to this move. I got spray animation stuff to do. Tomorrow, we're still streaming. I will eventually get everything set up in that new room. But besides that, enjoy the VOD, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Good night, guys.